This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the UK's #1 coral selling website, prestigereef.co.uk and reefdork.etsy.com for all your 3D printed aquarium accessory needs. What's up, YouTube? What's up, Spotify? What's up, Prestige?
What's up?
What is up? Did you ever watch a program a long time ago called Pete versus Life?
No.
It was with Rafe Spall. It's a real niche one. If anybody has in the chat or in the comments afterwards has watched it, let me know, because it was so funny, and I've just rediscovered it recently. And he's got it's a sitcom, and in it he's got this Zimbabwean housemate. And he says, "How's it?" instead of "How are you?" ever. So he's like, "How's it? How's it, Ryan?" So I might start saying, "How's it?"
We got a very niche beginning of the live stream, I've noticed so far.
Very
for the
niche.
one person who watches it with you.
Any Zimbabweans in, tell me if "How's it" is how you greet each other. For everybody else, hello. Let's talk about some fish, shall we? Today, we're going to be talking about why I might have discovered why my anemones keep moving around all over the place.
Yeah.
Have you seen the thumbnail?
Yeah, it's Rust, isn't it?
Rusty Powerhead, yeah. So we'll be talking about that.
Well, we can talk about it later, but I'd be interested to know if you've done an ICP. Because I want to know what shows up if you do one.
Yeah, I realised about half an hour ago that I haven't done.
Yeah.
I've done other things instead. I should have bought an ICP test this weekend, actually, but I just didn't think about it. But I'll do it because, I'll do it. But everything's fine. To be fair, there's one of that coral, the red coral, the Cyphastra that I turned half green and half red.
Yeah, the red.
That's now. Yeah, that's the one. That's back to being red now, which is how it was when I bought it from you.
Okay.
So I've been trying to get it back to green, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know what it wants. And I do wonder
want to be green.
Well, I want it to be green.
It's meant to be red.
That was it. No, I want it to be green. It was green for ages, half green, half red for ages.
Yeah, basically, it was like hanging on to the edge of life, which is what turned it green, probably.
That's okay. Well, I'll do that again. I'll put it outside for a couple of evenings. But yeah, we'll be talking about that and just the general nonsense, basically.
Is it in the same tank out of interest that has always been here?
It's the one behind me, yeah. It's right there.
So it's not the light then that's changed it?
No, those lights haven't changed. They changed for 2 weeks when I switched over and I tested a light. But apart from that, they haven't changed since I've set that tank up. So...
Don't know then.
I would have thought nutrients, but nutrients have... They fluctuate in that tank a little bit, but they've always been roughly the same.
Yeah.
So that's not strictly true, actually. But anyway. Right. So Ryan, let me get my head in the game. Last week, by the way, I literally got back from the video of the tank I did about half an hour before the live stream. And I'd had a really busy week. As I said, I was all over the place, and I listened back to the first 5 minutes of it. And someone had asked a question in the chat, and when I was reading it out, I couldn't read it because my head was all over the place. Today, I'm actually more settled.
Oh, it doesn't appear it.
I know, you wouldn't think it, would you? But you might get something more coherent today.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to it.
What have you been up to, Ryan?
What has my week in reefing been like? It's hard. It gets harder and harder to do it, I feel, each week because less and less seem to happen. However, so the water box hasn't changed massively. The coral farm, however, I'm like properly going for at the moment. I'm trying to get everything they say don't chase numbers. Like that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to get everything absolutely perfect because new year, new beginning, back to you get like that. What is it, like New Year's resolutions where you want to get everything dialed in absolutely perfectly. Maybe the phosphate got a little bit too high, bring it back down. So I've been doing a lot of maintenance in there at the moment, just to try to, I don't know. I'm like you go through stages where you're like, you really, really enjoy what you're doing, and like you really, really enjoy your tank. And the coral farm, I'm really enjoying at the moment. The water box, It's we have a love-hate relationship, me and the water box.
Exactly that, yeah.
But the farm really like loving every minute of it at the moment. So I'm spending like quite a lot of time in there. Even as I said, a lot of testing, a lot of cleaning, a lot of fragging, just getting everything back to normal. It has been so nice shipping again. It seems weird to say that because it's just like it's like I'm an Amazon shipper where you just put stuff in a box that it says on the like the invoice. So you just it's not a lot, but it's actually I find it really satisfying seeing corals go out all the time. But it has been it's definitely
that's really enjoyable. Is it the satisfaction of just processing orders or thing? What is it?
I don't know. I think I was bored when I wasn't doing it, so it's probably less satisfaction of doing it. I think that just by not doing it, I was bored, so it's filled that void in my life. Basically, it's given me something to do.
Yeah,
but it's definitely been quieter. I think the whole industry is quieter at the moment. That I'm not sure if it's quieter than usual because obviously it's been Christmas, hasn't it?
Yeah, January. No one's got any money in January.
Yeah.
But it's payday weekend now. But yes. You wanted to ask if people have been buying corals this last week.
Yeah, I was interested to see if, like, in the comment section, has anyone in the last week has anyone bought any fish or corals? Just because talking to you guys gives us sort of like a small like sample of what's going on in the hobby. So, and I asked you the same question. I know you haven't bought anything in the last week.
No, I thought I had, but then I thought about it and I haven't. But then that's because I've actually been selling stuff lately. So I spent thick end of $1,000 on fish in the last couple of weeks, which I didn't really mean to do. It just happened. And because of that, I've had to sell as much stuff as I can. So I sold my Kalkwasser stirrer, which I wanted to keep aside in case I ever decided to go back to it, but I just thought, well, I can't afford to have that money sat there. I sold a couple of Ecotech Versa dosing pumps that I bought and didn't ever really use them, but again I kind of wanted to keep them, but so I've had to sell a few things to feed my habit basically. So no, I haven't been spending any money.
It's interesting because spending money for you gives you the motivation to earn the money back rather than earning the money at the beginning. To then spend it, you spend it and then earn it back.
Yeah, I also spent a lot of money on a new camera and
cameras,
new
lighting,
gear, lenses,
all sorts of things probably.
Also, yeah, and so that's so I'm paying that off actually. So and it's stupid because when the camera was really expensive and the lens were really expensive, and actually it's brilliant because the video quality is much better. Yeah. But no one's ever going to comment, "Oh wow, your new camera is amazing, mate." And it won't.
Did you use that camera on the tank that you filmed last week?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make sure that I go onto your video. In fact, everyone in the chat, go onto Alex's video and comment. This is a really, really good quality video.
But it's better, and I prefer it. But it's not going to earn me more money that will pay off the camera. It's just one of the things that I just like to buy stuff, don't I? Basically.
I think you wanted it. You like to do small improvements each time, don't you?
It's ridiculous. So. But so that's I've just been paying off debt for a while and flogging as much stuff as I possibly can do for the last few weeks.
David's just asked a question. I just want to address this. This has been happening for a couple of people. It's never happened for me. So for some reason, on what David said is there something strange with your website? The £150 mystery boxes come up as $4,170. There's something going on where I think people are using VPNs, and is it coming out like that for you? No, it's not.
Mystery box.
So
let me add it to cart and see what happens. Check out.
No, see, 100. Yeah.
Ooh,
so I've had this. I keep getting. I've probably had this 5 times. Where people have said there's something wrong with your website, and I've gone. If you try it on a computer or something else, it works. So it's not the website itself; it's the device you're using it on. And I think it's something to do with a VPN, because possibly I don't know, but that's it basically. So unfortunately, I can't do anything to fix that because it's the device itself, not the website.
Yeah.
And I can't work out how to change it. Anyway, sorry, where were we? We were doing my week in reefing, weren't we?
Yeah. Get back to it, yeah.
So one of the things I think does, I actually have bought coral this last week because I had an import from Indonesia.
Okay.
They don't always come in brilliant, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes with a box of, say, 15 corals, you might lose 3 or 4 of them. And that's why prices fluctuate on coral, because if 3 or 4 die, the rest of the corals have to increase in price.
Yeah.
And that's why you might see a very similar coral in one place and a very similar coral in other place. But it depends on how well
someone spent £1,000 on a box of 10 corals, and instead of being £100 each, now suddenly they've got to be £200 each because there's only 5 left or whatever. Yeah,
correct. Yes. Now I had a completely healthy box, 100% success rate, which I like. It doesn't always happen. Is usually that you might lose 1 on average, maybe 2. On a bad day, you can lose all of them. Like it's only happened to me once in 5 years, but it's like it's a huge amount of money that you don't get it back. It's just gone basically. So it was it's a win for me when I get a healthy box come in. So 100% survival rate, which was great. So that was good. And I've also got another import coming in this week as well. So you can see that I'm like raring to go. I'm like filling the farm back up. I'm basically turbocharging it. I have been updating the website, but the problem with having standard pictures for your website is that when you put something back in stock, people don't realize that it's been out of stock. So they go, "Oh, you've not updated the website." But the reality is I have updated it. It's just the same picture that was on 3 months ago.
Yeah, okay.
So
whereas this, you had a new part-time unpaid employee, didn't you, who was going to start taking photos?
Oh, Rachel was going to start doing it. Rachel has not started doing it yet. She was taking work experience guy's job. Work experience guy has not been back since before Christmas at the moment, purely because it's too quiet to have the luxury of an additional person. So I'd like he I know he listens to this, so don't you worry, Sam. I'll be in touch. But yes, so that's that. And I said, so this week I've got, so last week I had torches and frog spawns and hammers and things like that. This week, the Goniopora are coming in. And Goniopora, unfortunately, have a much lower success rate when it comes to import. So fingers crossed I'll have the same luck, because I bought some really, really nice ones. But sometimes the really nice ones are the hardest ones to get to come through, basically. So, but you can see that sometimes when you talk to me, I go, "Oh, so it becomes like a job, and you get a bit down or whatever, or a bit like the same." Whereas I'm excited. I've had people come in to the farm. Fish are doing well, so I've been obviously selling the fish, which is great. I'll be getting more fish in soon. That's the thing that I love. I love the fish. I literally love I'm gonna buy something weird. I think probably the next time I get fish in. Just something for myself. Something that
when
I wouldn't
you say weird.
I don't know, maybe a lionfish. I know they're not that weird, but or a pufferfish, or like things I couldn't normally have.
A little dwarf pufferfish, like whatever.
Yeah. I had a jewel pufferfish before. I used to eat my corals. So, but now that I've got a tank where I've got fish that eat corals in, maybe I'll
go in there. I thought angelfish didn't eat corals.
Well, actually, they don't. So far, still nothing has been touched.
And I think this is the trick. You're what's the word? You're influencing me, Ryan, because I keep thinking about putting a regal angel in my main tank now.
You might be so with a regal. You probably will be fine, but there's a caveat to that. It might eat one thing.
And I've got a few things that it might eat.
Yeah,
Tracky being probably top of the list. So
I've had regals with trackies and clams. I bought a clam and a regal angel on the same day. I really was asking for trouble, and it was fine. So, but it's I think every reef tank should have an angelfish in it. That's my opinion. But I don't think every reef tank should have an angelfish and an acan in it, because then you won't have the acan, and you have acans, don't you?
A really nice acan colony I've had for years, and it started to take off in the last couple of years. So
yeah. Look, you can get one if you want, and then if it doesn't work out, come live with me, can't it? Oh, you have frozen. Have you frozen because of me, or have you frozen because of you? I don't know if anyone can see me. If you can see me, Alex has just sent me a message saying his PC has crashed. So I must. If you, oh, Ryan is still on. There you go. Okay, I can still talk to you then. That's a, you. You know, there was a moment where I was like, is this still happening or not? Anyway, while Alex is gone because his PC's crashed probably. Oh, now it really is just me. So, anyway, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? I can't even remember where I was. It's Ryan's live stream yet. So start dancing. No, I'm not. That would definitely crash the live stream if I started dancing. So he's back.
Kind of.
Kind of.
That's a terrible. What the hell? Why is the camera looking like that?
That is not a good look for you.
What? Do you want to know what happened?
I'm assuming something. One of your lights probably overheated your PC or something.
No, this is my computer screen. I've got the blue screen of death.
Not good.
This has happened a few times with this computer recently. It was an expensive computer. It's not that old, and it just crashes. So it's like,
It does that on my laptop sometimes. The funny thing was, you had frozen. No one was talking in the chat. So I was like, have I frozen? And then I didn't realize I was still live the entire time.
Yeah. Well, I saw that I'd frozen, so I said, "Have I frozen?" But obviously you couldn't hear me. So did you get my text?
Yeah. You said you frozen and you'll be back. So are we continuing like this now? Is this?
Yeah. It'll take 5 minutes to reboot, and then I might have to. This is the thing. I've got to buy another computer if this doesn't work. I'll see if I can get it fixed. But
no, just keep restarting it. It's all good.
Yeah, we can. Let's have a troubleshoot the PC. We'll do it during the stream. We'll do it live.
Yeah.
So, BSOD, blue screen of death. Yeah. Anyway, there are a couple of things.
The funny thing is, when someone even though I was obviously talking myself the whole time, the funny thing is, as soon as you disappeared, I panic, have nothing to say.
I thought you would. To be fair. Hate this. I hate the goddamn.
Just leave it. We can hear you, and I wouldn't worry about.
No, I don't like the little crop thing. Anyway, whatever. Matter. We'll crack on. There are a couple of questions that popped up that I was going to answer. I'm just scrolling back through them. I've lost them now. Alex is gone. Oops, here. Big Angel. Right, here we go. Yeah, two things. First off, Pussycat says, which ICP test do you use? I have no brand loyalty when it comes to ICP tests. So I've used Triton most recently. I've used Reef Factory in the past. I used what's the one that gets turned around in 24 hours in the UK? Reef Elements. Yeah. I'd probably use that one, but I don't know. I don't think there's a better Verticom one. And the other question was from Camrox, who said, would you go back to the Giesmann Stella or Evergrow did the job? I'm currently running a Stella and Evergrow sitting on top of it going well. Great lights, but I don't want T5s anymore. I'm fed up of them.
Oh, they just said that Alex carries the show. That's nice of them, isn't it?
You're useless, basically, right?
Basically. Look, I'm here for comedic value, and that's it. And I can only be like, I that goes when you're not here, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. We're still showing it's got a percentage thing. It says 0% complete, so you might be here a while.
I'll just turn it off and turn it back on.
I can't. Anyway, Reefing, carry on. What you're saying?
I mean that was pretty much it with regards to my week in Reefing. I don't think there's anything else to tell you, if I'm honest. So it looks like it's gonna be your week in Reefing now.
That's a problem because my week in Reefing is on my notes, which is on my second screen.
Oh, now you're gonna have to do what I do and just wing it.
I'll wing it in that case. I'll try to remember. So, but I tell you, first off, then we'll talk about the thing that's caused the problem with my anemone. So I think I've been trying to work out what was going on with the anemones, because they've been a couple of them been walking around and just doing crazy things, annoying me basically for a little while now. And I think it was I went to change my my Powerheads recently. I mentioned it the other week I was going to do it. No particular reason. I just wanted to change the Jecods. And I took both of the old Powerheads out. And just as I was stripping them down, I was going to clean them and sell them. Stripping them down, broke one of them open. Wanted to break it open. I took the magnet off the glass, and there was rust on the back. And it cracked open and rusted.
Is that a standard thing for that type of? Because they're known for being one of the cheaper pumps. So is that?
Oh no! These are AI Nero 5s. I was going to say.
Oh, I thought it was the Jekod ones that you were
No,
saying.
the Jekod are the new ones that have gone in. Any
Oh.
Powerhead. So I've seen a few people say, "Oh, my Nero 5 did that," or whatever. And all Powerheads will probably be the same. I've seen plenty of people have problems with MP40s. I've seen tons of these break open and rust. All Powerheads will do it.
Yeah.
Whether one Powerhead is more likely to do it than the other, I got no idea. But the point of that was kind of, this is your reminder. You've got problems in your corals and all your parameters are fine, and that's only if you've tested them, including salinity, the works, then maybe it's worth checking your Powerheads, because every now and then, or anything with a magnet in it, basically.
I've been pretty lucky actually because I've got probably 18 MP40s, and they never get touched, they never get cleaned, they're like neglected. And I cleaned them all for the first time in like 5 years the other day, and they were all good. So I was pretty lucky with that. If it's if the MP40s if it happens to those sometimes.
I don't know if it happens all the time, to be fair. I think it's pretty unusual. It's just something I decided that it's something that it happens often enough. You see it often enough that it's worth thinking about. But it's bearing in mind how many MP40s they've sold. I think the failure rate is probably quite low. It's just worth bearing in mind that you might, if you've never broken your MP40 wet side down to clean it, it's probably worth having a look, because sometimes they can burst open. But all Powerheads are a risk, and anything with a magnet in it, especially if it's something you bought that was cheap, like a little cheap probe holder or a cheap frag rack, they are primed to break. It's like companies like Ecotech and that sort of thing, they will do a proper job with injection molding plastic, and they know how to work things, and even they have problems. But if it's just a small company that just do low volume stuff, maybe 3D printed, for example, then they're probably not as good at waterproofing magnets as other companies. They might be, but I think a lot of them are a risk.
I had magnets from a rack like that in the Red Sea tank that I took it out, and when they're like properly corroded, it's not like a little bit of corrosion, it's like they're like crumbly. That's what happened with those. So it's I wonder what causes them to corrode. Is it something like after, like, now that I've had mine running for 5 years and there's not been a problem, are they basically just not going to be a problem ever, or is there?
There's no guarantee. Salt water is a very harsh environment. Okay, so at the end of the day, thanks very much. I got a laptop. Salt water is a harsh environment, so it's gonna do a number on anything like that. So it's not that if it's been okay for 5 years, if anything, it's more likely to go wrong because it's been in there for 5 years.
Why?
Just because salt water is harsh and it gets into places and it ruins stuff.
There must be something. There's a protective coating over it, and if it's not worn down after 5 years,
but I mean, everything can fail, can't it? Companies don't make stuff to last forever. They try to make it last for a long time, but there's no guarantee. And to be fair, most pumps, I bet there are plenty of Powerheads and return pumps that will last for years.
Yeah.
But
Steve Webb said he makes his own rubber coated magnets and with 100% infill. So some 3D printed people are doing okay.
So every now and then someone will ask me if the wall mounts that I make, the weir box mounts that I make for corals, and I sell on reefdork.etsy.com. Every now and then someone will ask if I make one with a magnet.
Yeah.
And I always say no, because I won't be able to do a good enough job that I could guarantee it won't rust, basically.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be sending out crap that's going to rust your tank. But yes, it's always a risk. But I think it's just that's what happened. And to be fair, all my other corals are fine. So I think, and this was the rust. It was only when I pulled the magnet off the back that it cracked open the case and it showed me there was rust inside. So I think that rust wasn't like it was complete. Sometimes the pumps really, like the magnets, really swell and crack, and you can see that they've been in contact with salt water and it's probably been doing a real problem. But I just did a large water change, and now it's all right. I did 2 25% water changes. I say now it's all right. I just did 2 25% water changes, and that's basically, it seems okay. But I need to do an IT.
Have the anemones stopped moving?
Well, wow, annoyingly, so one of them came out and I managed to catch it.
Yeah.
And I was like, brilliant, because it wandered onto a rock and I could see it was really loose. So I just popped it off, put it in a pot, and I left it for 24 hours. I just put it in the sump. I was like, right, I'll deal with that later. The plan was to sell it. So I put it in a little pot for 24 hours. And then when I opened the pot, it was almost dead. Just one day without light, or stuck in a pot, whatever it was, and it was dead.
It was probably when you pulled it off. It probably got an infection.
No, it was. I didn't pull it at all. It was really loosely gripped on, so I just tapped it and it came off. I didn't pull it at all. I didn't tear it or hurt it. Just a day in a small tub. It didn't like it at all. So,
I mean, we can't all grow anemones as well as my ones, that can survive in a tub. But that's okay. That's okay.
What do you mean survive in a tub?
I ship anemones very, very rarely. Occasionally, I'll ship them, and they're obviously in a tub for 24 hours when I.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't think it was the fact that it was in a tub that killed it, unless it was an old tub or a dirty tub. You see what I mean? There's something has caused it to die. But think about it this way: when they get shipped over from Indonesia or Australia or wherever they come from, they're in a bag for 24 hours. It's probably because there's more water in the bag than probably 100 ml tub. So
either way, I was surprised it died. To be honest, I didn't think anything of it. I thought 24 hours in the sump, it would be fine, but maybe it won't have oxygen.
I would have said it would have been fine as well. So I'm surprised.
But yeah, that did pass away. I've got my laptop up, so I've got my week in reefing here. I made a really interesting discovery. So last weekend I did a 300-mile round trip to pick up a coral, right?
Yeah.
And let me just turn my camera off, actually, because there's no point having it on whilst the computer's crashed. And it came on a 3D printed coral stand. It's something like this, basically. Have you seen these before?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so the idea is that you put them in the sand, and the sand keeps them weighted down, and then there's a little hole at the top, and the frag plug goes in there in the top. And so they sit just above the sand bed, so they don't get covered in sand by the fish, and the cleanup crew don't disturb them. Happy days, everyone's happy. Because if you try to rest corals when you just bought them, try to rest them in the sand bed, they get knocked over and covered in sand by your clownfish or your wrasse or whatever. It's a pain.
Yeah.
And the guy who I bought the coral off, it came on one of these. He gave me one of these. I was like, yeah, okay, might as well have it. And I'd seen them before. A few people sell them, and I just thought I had no interest in them. I just thought they looked a bit rubbish. I was like, no, not really interested in that. They don't really do anything. It's brilliant. It's the most amazing thing, and I love it.
Yeah.
And it just.
I see that you've made some now, haven't you? You've made an improved version.
I've improved it, but they're so good, and because they sit your coral above the sand. None of my wrasse keeps turning over the sand and burying all my corals. But I noticed after about a week, this one that was on the stand, it was still there. It was untouched. It was fine. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And because it sits under the sand, it buries it.
Yeah.
It keeps it steady so it doesn't fall over. So yeah, I've made one. They're these, and they're on kind of the thing I didn't like about this is from Thingiverse, so you can download, if you've got a 3D printer, you can download this for free and print it yourself. But I didn't like that it had 3 supports. It just looks a bit untidy. So I made one with a single-sided. It's got 2 supports, but it's on one side. So that means if you put it in the right place, you won't be able. It'll look like it's floating, and you can't see any of the supports. It looks like the corrode is floating in thin air. So now you can buy them in white or black at reefdork.se.com.
There you go.
But they're brilliant. They're so good. You don't have to buy them from me. They're just brilliant. Wherever you buy them from, buy them. They're amazing.
You don't have to buy them from me, but do buy them from me.
Well, do obviously, but So, that was the other thing. So, did I tell you last weekend about on the live stream about the heater for my quarantine tank?
Yeah, it was off. No, it wasn't off. It was like really, really low.
Yeah, so it was free with the tank, and I threw it in the bin. It was terrible. Ever since then, now it's been completely stable. Every time I look at the temperature, it's within 1/10 of a degree of where I set it. It's perfect. It's about 24.5, something like that. So, and Techers Reef says that Charterhouse 3D printed one. So yeah, so they do one as well, which is I think has got on like a triangle base maybe. Anyway, So everything, the temperature is nice and stable now. And I was umming and ahhing. I was actually thinking about with the fish, should I quarantine them? Should I just observe them? Should I just put them in straight into the tank? What do you think I decided?
Part of me thinks you've put them in the tank, but I think you're at least I think you're going to observe them. Is my theory.
I started copper treatment today.
Okay, well that's
So
there you go. See, you've I can't remember what you got.
I have
I'm trying to remember what fish you had, just because.
yellow wrasse, 2 yashigobies, a scarlet hawkfish, a pictus blenny, and 2 naked clowns. I don't know if I told you, I did have a pygmy perchlet.
Yeah.
It died.
Okay.
It died the day after I got it, basically, or 2 days after I got it. And when the body looked really thin, so I don't know if it was just it hadn't eaten for 2 weeks in transport or whatever. But anyway, whatever. I've still got the rest alive, which is I'm happy about. But I've started copper treatment now. The copper, as of before this live stream, is at 1.15 parts per million. So it's got roughly double to go to get to where I want it. But I only started dosing copper this morning, so I'm probably going to finish. I'll put a little bit more in tonight, and then tomorrow, by the end of tomorrow, it'll be up to 2 parts per million, 2.5, whatever I choose for that. And the only other thing I'm going to treat for is brook, because I got 2 clownfish.
Yeah.
Because they're captive bred and they're designer clowns. I think it's pretty unlikely that they've got brook, because they come from a breeding facility. But
but think about all, like, they get mixed with all the other fish, don't they? So would I?
I think brook is. I think you have to come into contact with another fish to get it. But whatever, there's no reason. I don't think I would ever buy a clownfish without treating it for brook now.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't seem to do any. It's not like copper seems to be harmful to fish.
Yeah.
It kills the parasites, so ultimately is good. But I don't like treating copper. But brook treatment, the stuff I've got, API General Cure, metronidazole, doesn't seem, as far as I can tell, doesn't seem to have the same deleterious effect, if for want of a better word.
No, I agree with you. Metroplex doesn't seem to have any effect as well.
Yes, exactly. Same chemical, basically. So I think that's fine. So I get whatever happens anyway. I'm going to treat them, but I think I'm going to do 2 weeks of copper with 2 treatments of metronidazole.
Yeah,
and then in you go, fellas. Godspeed. Good luck.
It'll be good. You'll be happy to get more fish back. It makes a big impact when you put a few extra fish in.
Totally. So I've got 5 in there at the moment, and it just looks so empty. But it's so good having fish in the tank. So it's just brilliant. I absolutely love it.
Do you know what I'm considering?
What's that?
So I have some of the fish that went to the water box came from the coral farm and stuff like that. So they're quite big fish. And I've got some really, really little fish as well that are in the quarantine system. I've got a big purple tang, and I've got a little 1.5 inch purple tang. And I just wonder if I like the look of small fish. When all the fish are in the water box, it looks like there's quite a lot of big fish all swimming around. And I just wonder if to swap them out. Just swap them over, because then you can have my days of being really, really attached to fish are long gone. Because
what do you mean?
People get really attached to their fish and they go, "Oh, I'd never sell my fish." They upgrade their tank to get a bigger tank for that as the fish grows or whatever. That was me, definitely. But as I said, the purple tank I had for 17 years, that was the last of the fish which I was very, very attached to. Yeah. And then since then, I've got so many fish now, I'm not even sure which ones were mine originally, which ones came from people tank breakdowns, which ones do you see what I mean? There's a disconnect for me with them now that most people don't have. Yeah, because it's most people have 5 fish or 10 fish, whereas I've got 100 fish, and you can't be personally attached to 100 fish. So,
what about the king?
No, the king eye's different. The king eye's different.
I was going to say.
Yeah, are
there any other fish that you actually do really feel connected to?
I think the Japanese masked swallowtail, will end up being the same way as the king, where I'm very, very attached to it. But something like a yellow tang or a purple tang, where they're sort of like readily available,
Yeah.
I don't have that feeling anymore. That you've gone again. That I used to, and there is definitely a. Oh, you got it back working again, have you?
Oh, I had to. It was still sat at 0%. I had to turn it off at the plug, which is why all my lights turned off a second ago.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think if I had a purple tang for 5 years, would I replace it with the smaller purple tang? Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And so what would probably happen is I'd probably move the bigger purple tang to the coral farm, and then just put a small purple tang in the water box. So
yeah,
I've still got it. And then what happens eventually? I get too many fish in the coral farm, then my nutrients go up. So then I have a big blitz, and then on Facebook I go, "Who wants to buy my fish?" get them down the level of fish down again, and start again. So, but yeah, I think I don't know. It's like I don't know. Yeah, I just don't have the same thing anymore. Do you have that same?
I don't think I've ever been that way, actually. There's something I've got to get out of my head, because I keep thinking about it. I'll come back to that in a second. It's okay. Distracting me. One thing with that, the bubble tip anemone that I caught, it was a really nice one, actually. And let me I'll pull it up on Instagram and I'll show you a picture I took of it. It was a beautiful, really healthily, well grown out anemone. And here it is. Screen 2, share, go. Here it is in the pot. That was when I caught it, and that was under daylight. That was under my room lights with not tank lights. Stunning colours. Yeah. So it's a real shame that it died. But one thing I regret, because I put it on Ultimate Reef for 20 quid, but I regret not giving it away.
Okay.
I should have given it away.
Do you regret not giving it away because it died, or do you?
No, just because. Well, partly I suppose, but mainly because I put it up for 20 quid. Because what I don't tend to give stuff away completely for free, because I've had too many times. If you try to give something away, especially equipment, you get messed around quite a lot. And there's some stuff I tried to give away something that was worth about 250 quid, brand new. Just completely free, no strings attached, and I got strung along for a few weeks, and it was like, and then they changed their mind, and it's like, oh god, I just want to get rid of it. So, and that happens all the time. So that's why I tend to try to sell stuff really cheaply rather than give it away, because then people are like, they're on the hook or whatever, and they're more interested. But I should have given that away. And actually, there was someone on my Facebook post for that picture who said, "Oh, look, if you want to rehome it, I'll take it off your hands." Yeah. And I should have messaged him. He was only in Sussex. I should have messaged him. So, yeah, I regret that. I just wanted to get that's on my conscience, Ryan.
It's interesting. I wonder why do so many people? It seems to be a thing that people get messed around in this hobby. When is it the reason
just life?
I've had 2 customers come this weekend. Both of them were. Both of them have mentioned. No, I've had more than 2 customers. But I had 2 customers come that said they were selling corals recently, and they're tired of it now because people they don't turn up, and they were basically saying to me "Will you would in the future you be interested in some of my corals?" And I just go, "Look, no problem. Basically, this is what I want from people. I want a picture of the coral. I want the price that you want. Remember, it needs to be cheaper than if you'll get more by selling it individually. And if you'll bring it here." Those are the 3 things that are likely to get you a yes. If you send me those 3 things, you'll at least get an answer within 30 seconds of me reading it. I'll either go yes or no. Because it just depends if I've got it already. But they were both of the people were saying, you try and sort to sell things to people, and they just don't turn up. And I was like, this is what my life is like.
And it's the same with everything. Whether you're selling a coral or a car, it just happens, and it's really annoying. That's why I don't anymore. I still do sometimes, but if it's someone I know, 100%, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
But if it's someone I don't know, I'm always a little bit reluctant.
The thing it was very, very unusual for people to not turn up here. Usually because obviously everyone books a specific time slot. The only thing that does happen sometimes is someone says, "Oh, I'll be there at 11," and they turn up at 12, which is fine if you're going to a shop, but there's a possibility that 12 is already booked for the next customer. To see what I mean for me. Yeah. So that's the only thing. But very rarely do people say they're going to turn up and then not turn up. But
so I get that as well. I've had the worst one I had was, I think we agreed 11 o'clock and it became 3 o'clock.
Wow.
Because I had stuff to do, so I'm waiting in. and I'm getting updates every hour saying, "Oh, another hour, whatever." It's like, and then and so you're like, "Well, I've just wasted my day now." So that is frustrating. But anyway, fish. So the thing about fish, then I think you're more connected to fish. I don't feel that connection to fish so much. I don't have, like, if I was some of my fish died recently, I was gutted, especially some of the ones I'd had for years. But I don't feel like that deep affinity, like it's a real pet. Like, obviously it is a pet, and fish are, you can interact with them, all that sort of stuff, but I don't feel the same way, I think, as you do. I think you feel more strongly than I do about fish.
Do you name your fish?
Some of them, but not really.
See, that was when you stop naming them, that's when you lose the connection. So all of my fish from my 1,000-litre tank, they all had names and everything. I can still remember them now. Newer fish, Rachel names them, but I couldn't tell you what she's named half of them. So, but yeah, I think when you stop naming them is when you start to you lose that connection with them.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think I've ever had that, and I've named fish in the past, but not all of them. But I guess I get the point though, because you name a cat or a dog, don't you?
Yeah, but okay, what's the fish that you would say you felt most connected with of all the fish you've ever had?
Oh, the fish I've ever had. There's no fish that I just think, oh man, I miss that little guy so much or whatever. Like,
this is telling me an awful lot about you. Had a very troublesome childhood.
I'm a psychopath, basically. Yeah, that's it. Like sociopath. That's the word. No, I don't think I've ever had that. There's like I'm genuinely sad if a fish dies, particularly when in quarantine. For a parasite and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it makes me sad. And I had my Midas Blenny. From as far as I can work out, he died at roughly the age, I think he was about 5 years old, and I think the average life expectancy is like 3 to 5 years or something like that. So he died of old age. But when he was towards the end, for the last couple of days, there was something really wrong with him. He was just, he wasn't hiding. He was just lying on his side, looking awful. And that's quite painful to watch. So I bought clove oil, and actually by the time I'd got it, I got back and he died. But that's really not nice. I hate that. But then I think that's normal. But I don't think I've ever had a fish that I've been really like I wouldn't cry over a fish, if you know what I mean.
What about Mrs. Clownfish?
Yeah.
Was she one that you were connected? Because that one has a name. That's the reason I said that.
No, I mean, does she? She didn't have a name. It wasn't like Sarah.
No, but she was Mrs. Clownfish. You always referred to her as Mrs. Clownfish. You didn't go with the female clownfish.
No, again, the Scarlet Hawkfish was a bit gutted, because he was like, I actually feel you with that sort of fish, you feel like you have a connection, because I know he knows who I am, and he watches me and that sort of stuff.
Plotting your demise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's like, when I get out of here. Yeah. But no, I don't think I have that connection. Not that deeply anyway. I think I've got enough of a connection, but it's not that strong. Like, I don't think I'd ever cry about a fish dying.
I wonder if the longer you're in the hobby, the less of a connection you have. I think when because remember, at the very beginning, you're going through like a quite difficult stage.
Super exciting as well.
Yeah, and you don't know if they're going to survive or not, and like then 3 months in, you're like, oh, we've got this. Me and this fish, we're getting through this.
Yeah. He doesn't know, but you're like, come on, I'm struggling here. I need help.
The funny thing is, we never ever know where these live streams are going to go. We never know what direction they're going in, and I had no idea that this was what we were going to be talking about today. So again, in the chat, I'm interested, let us know. Are you attached to your fish, or are you like Alex, a psychopath?
I'm semi attached, but not really attached.
Oh, so you're like 50% psychopath.
Yeah, basically. So like, even if my cat gets slightly unwell, I'm like, I become a blubbering mess instantly. I hate going to the vet when there's something wrong, and they're telling you all the bad news before they get to the good news. And it's like, but if it's a fish, it's like, I'm gutted and I'll be bummed out or whatever, but that's as far as it goes. So
we're learning an awful lot about you today.
I know. I did actually think, I wondered, I don't know if anyone would be interested in this, but one thing I did think about doing a live stream was when we just have a live stream when we talk about all the usual nonsense, all that sort of stuff, but we do a getting to know each other thing. And we talk about things like how we grew up, what we do for a living, what our interests are outside of the hobby and all those sorts of things. I reckon probably like 5% of people would be interested in that. Everyone else would be like, nah, don't care.
We usually tell we sort of interject small bits about.
But there are loads of things that I bet there are things that I don't know about you. There are things that we'd find out about each other.
Yeah, but it's just another thing we have to think about what you don't know about me and what I don't know about you.
I'll work out. But anyway, if you're interested in that, let me know. I don't think people are interested, to be honest. But I mean, the thing is, I have these ideas because I watch other YouTubers, and when YouTubers I really like talk about that sort of stuff, I love it because it feels like you're getting to know them a bit better, and it's not just
okay. Give me an example so that people can get like a flavor. Tell us something that we don't know about you, Alex.
About me. So last week on the live stream, I wore a jumper that was from my university, De Montfort University in Leicester. And I bet nobody knew I went to university in Leicester, and I lived in the Midlands for 15 years.
No, I always assumed you're entirely uneducated.
Well, the fair assumption, yeah. And people wouldn't know what I did for a living, where I moved around, why I moved around, all that sort of stuff.
I never knew you lived in the Midlands for 15 years.
Exactly. I lived in Leicester for almost 10 years. Great place. Loved it. Yeah.
I'm not sure I've got anything interesting to tell you.
But this is the thing, you will have. You'll have loads.
Yeah. True. I think I got my love of fish from when I lived in Australia. So I used to live in Australia. And I actually went to school in Australia. And while I was there, I started scuba diving. And then when we moved back to England, I couldn't do the scuba. And I absolutely loved scuba diving. I loved all the fish. I didn't know what I was looking at the time. But when we moved back to England, I couldn't do the scuba diving anymore. Then I got a fish tank, so I could I think that's actually where it came from.
Yeah. Okay.
So there you go. God, I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know. No, I didn't. I knew you lived in Australia, but I didn't know you went to school there. Why don't you have an Aussie accent?
Because it's been. I wasn't there for.
You didn't ever pick it up.
No. Oh no, I did. I picked up, but it was like a hybrid between English and Australian when I first came back. But remember, I came back probably 15, 16, maybe 17 years ago. So every so often someone says to me that I sound like it. So I must occasionally go off track when I'm talking about something.
It's when I lived in Leicester, all my mates were northern. I say northern, like Stoke, which is Midlands basically. But when we went back home, if you go back home for a couple of weeks over the summer or whatever, I'd come back up north and I'd be talking differently because my parents speak the same way I do, kind of neutral Southern English accent. Whereas up north, it's a bit more, I don't know, just a different accent. And like my friends always say when I go back down south, they can always tell. I'm like, oh, hello, Michael. How are you this afternoon? What are you up to today? But anyway, maybe another time. We'll see. And Anubis Kruger didn't know you lived in Straya.
Yeah, they were some of the best years of my life, actually, because it's a very, very outdoor lifestyle. So going to school there was like, I remember we used to go to the beach sometimes on school trips. It was great. You go to the beach on the school trip to here, you go to Brighton, like
Calshot.
Yeah.
So condoms floating past you.
Yeah, you made the joke that I was about to make.
Oh, there you go. But this actually, so if I was going to live anywhere, any country in the world, it would be Australia, apart from England. I love England, to be fair, or Britain. I love it.
There are cultural differences.
That's one thing, is that Australians are fairly similar to Brits. I love the Australian sense of humour. It's really dry. They're very witty, and that sense of humour is up my street. And they swear a lot as well, which I always appreciate. But I think Australians are similar to Brits in some ways, very different in other ways. But
what I found interesting from being in Australia and also spending a lot of time in America is just because each of these countries speaks English does not mean that you don't have very, very different sort of like the subtle things. I can't remember what the actual term is, but it is cultural differences. There are huge. Well, I think there's big cultural differences between each of them, but yeah. So no opinions I can give on here though, because I don't want to offend anyone. So.
Would you say living in Straya is fair dinkum? You flaming galah
would. So it's a very relaxed lifestyle over there, I find. Although you get sort of two types of people. Some people like hitting the gym at 5 a.m, There's like you either hit the gym at 5 a.m. or you eat a tremendous amount of rubbish. There doesn't seem to be any. There's no middle ground, is what I noticed when I was there.
Yeah.
So
a lot of banter in them. I like that they take the piss out of each other. I love that.
yeah.
But anyway, so see, this is the thing we've learned. We've been talking about 5 minutes. And we've learned loads.
True.
Back on track. The only other thing from my week in reefing was I did the video that you might actually watch bizarrely on Friday, which was a tank tour, and I want to do more of these. And I've had a few emails that I haven't got back to. So if you've sent me an email and I haven't got back to you yet, I will get back to you. It'll probably be tomorrow now. But I've been encouraging people, if you've got a really nice tank that you want to show off and you want me to do a tank tour of, thereefdork@hotmail.com, send me an email with your location and a really good photo if possible. And if it's wicked, I'll come and see it. I've had a few that I think I want tanks like a Bass's tank that are really grown out. And I've had a few tanks that are like in a couple of years' time, wicked, hit me up. But for now, probably too junior. And even with the Bass, actually, he asked me about a year ago. He messaged me and said, "Do you want to do a tank?" Maybe 2 years ago. And I was like, "It's not grown out enough." Whereas now, yes, thank you. It's amazing. It looks really nice. But I really enjoyed doing that. It was a long video. It's 45 minutes. But it was just a really good chat. But my takeaways, because I said last week that some of the things I want to kind of learn how people do things and how experienced hobbyists in particular look after corals. And the things that stood out from his tank for me were halides. He's got a lot of light, a ton of light, completely covering the entire tank, LEDs and halides. Halides grow acros in particular, but probably all corals, really fast. That is not news to anyone who has had halides, but they grow corals really well. Kalkwasser is good as well. The reason for his success, basically, in my opinion, apart from the fact that it's him and ultimately the reefer is what makes a difference. Metal halides, Kalkwasser, a ton of flow. He had a lot of flow in that tank. Heavy in, heavy out in terms of feeding as well. And so a lot of people say that and they're like, "Oh yeah, I like a high energy reef." And what that means is they turn their temperature up, run their alkalinity at 11, and then just chuck in a load of food and that's it. That's not what it is. So what a Bass does is he feeds really heavy. He makes his own DIY food, which is like smoked salmon, like all sorts of fish food from the fish aisle, basically. Yeah. Clams, the works. He blends it up, puts it in an ice cube tray, and then feeds an ice cube a day of this food. And so there's no water content in there. It's all pure food. It's probably the equivalent of 5 or 10 cubes of frozen, maybe even more per day. His nitrates are relatively high, but his phosphates weren't that high. And that, because he's putting that much food in, it's great for the corals, but he's exporting it, heavy export as well. He's got an algae scrubber that does heavy export. So those are the things that I took away from his, and that's how he runs his tanks. It's the same for the last one. A ton of food, a ton of flow, a ton of light, and Kalkwasser, basically.
Sounds like a very simple set of instructions, basically.
Do you mean that sincerely, or are you?
No. That is genuine. Like when you just said a ton of food, a ton of light, a ton of flow. Yeah. That's like simple.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's because I called the video a Bass's simple, old school acro tank or something like that. And when I look back at it, I was like, there are sometimes if you see the sump in particular, if you're new to the hobby, you'll be like, your kit that simple, bloody hell. Yeah. But actually, I just like the methods. Really, it's not a beginner tank by any stretch, but the methods are really simple. That's all it is.
The day-to-day running of it. Once everything's set up, the day-to-day running of it is simple.
And actually, they're just simple things that you do. So he doesn't mess around with trace elements. He's not doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things. He doesn't dose bacteria. He's not doing all sorts of weird stuff. He just does the basics. Yeah. And his corals look wicked. They look really
Most
good.
of the best tanks are run on the basics.
Yeah.
Like the people have been having success with the basics for years, so they must work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I really enjoyed that. That was good fun. Smoked salmon, what the F? I use fresh salmon. Do you do the same? Do you mix up, do you blend stuff, Reefkeeper? Put it in a blender, put a load of fish in a blender and then freeze it?
I have a feeling that Jamie's Reef has watched your video because I saw on his Instagram that he is now making his own fish food. So you're influencing people to like start making their own fish food now.
So I've been thinking about it, and I'm going to go back. He said in the video the things he puts in, or most of the things he puts in anyway, and I've been thinking about that myself because it's just there's so much goodness in there. I just don't know. There's no reason not to do it. I just like cubes of. Actually, one thing I discovered this week with frozen.
What about Mrs. Reef Dork? That might be the reason not to do it.
No, she'd be all right with that. Salmon, shrimp, and shred up nori's for the tank. Oh, well, that's interesting. WWC say turnover is irrelevant. Do you mean turnover in terms of return pump turnover?
I think that is what they
wouldn't disagree with that. But flow was powerhead flow, and that's massively important. But anyway, But no, I've thought about doing my own DIY fish food since then. But it's one of those things. Actually, there's a tiny barrier. I just can't be asked because I've never done it. And actually, if I just got on and did it, it'd be fine. I would need it to be in much smaller cubes because his tank is 50% bigger than mine. And at the moment I've got 5 fish. So, but I'm up for that, and I'm thinking about it.
You can't get food like that from a fish shop here, can you? Like in America, I believe Rod's Food does sort of that sort of blended up, all different like things, then frozen and then sells it to the fish shops, but I don't think anyone does that here. There's a gap in the market for you. You can do 3D printing and fish food.
Yeah. Food processor instead of a blender. I thought they were the same thing, but he used a food processor in that case. But yeah, interesting. Food processor, fine. But I'm up for doing that. And so this was all Sainsbury's Taste the Difference as well. So posh. If you're not English, Sainsbury's Taste the Difference. It's not really posh, but it's like it's not cheap.
Sorry, the king I only eat from
exactly.
I'm afraid.
Exactly, yeah, caviar only. But it did get me thinking that because that gives more variety as well. I just feed mysis almost all the time. I mix up some other stuff, but it's mostly mysis.
Yeah.
And so that with clams, cockles, shrimp, salmon, it's got to be so much better for them. And proper high in omega-3 and all that stuff. So I like the idea of doing that, but I would need to up my game for export because if I did that, my nutrients would just go crazy because I'm too lazy with things like changing phosphate, rowaphos and all that. But anyway, so you mentioned Jamie's reef. Actually, I'm going to start pushing for a tour of his tank. I'm coming for.
I'll let you do it.
Yeah, but every time I say, "Hey, do you want to do it?" He's like, "Oh, I need to buff the back tank out."
No, just turn up. Just turn up.
Just turn up.
You saw what I do. I turned up and I was like, "We're gonna film a video today." So
I'm gonna start doing that. I'm coming for you, Jamie.
Not only do I say we're gonna film a video today, we're gonna film a video today, and you're getting in a wetsuit.
Yeah.
So.
This is one thing I was about to mention actually. Jesse Roraba. Anyway, says how do people make much Roroba? How do people make much smaller cubes, tiny ice cube tray? I would have to use a smaller ice cube tray for that, and I'm sure you can get various sizes on Amazon or whatever. But that one thing I discovered this weekend. Have you ever heard of TMC Nano food? You probably wouldn't have done.
I've heard of it. I think, yeah.
So I'd never bought it before, but I wanted to feed my fishing quarantine a bit more variety. So I bought 3 or 4 different frozen foods. One of them was the nano food. And I didn't know what does that mean? Nano fish, they eat the same stuff as, but I thought, maybe they're smaller size or whatever. But when I got it home and I cracked it all open, so the size of a blister pack cube, it's normally like 1 centimeter square, roughly, like half an inch square, roughly. These are half the size of that.
I didn't know they did that.
That's absolute, and that's in a way you're paying the same amount of money for half the food, or I think it was the same anyway. So you could argue you're getting ripped off, but I loved that.
That's the convenience.
If you're feeding a nano tank, you'll pop open 1 cube of frozen, and you're like, "I'll pour it in." I might as well pour it all in. Whereas with this, you can pour in half. Brilliant! I loved that. I didn't know that existed.
Neither did I. That's actually a really good idea.
It's brilliant, and they're literally half the size as of a normal. Was it TMC Gamma? I think it was. But yeah, I'm sure other half-size cubes. I'm sure been using it since I started. I'm sure other people do it as well. I had no idea. Where's this video? It's on this channel, the Reef Dork channel. It's the most recent video from Friday. But yeah,
grab yourself a cup of tea. It's 45 minutes or 47 minutes, isn't it?
45, yeah, about that. But I've put chapters along the bottom. So if you don't want to know what his lights are, you can skip along to the bit about corals. And that's one thing. I wrote down a list of 14 questions or 12 questions that I wanted to ask him, but I did it in the wrong order. And I tried to edit it out, but I couldn't. So next time I started like talking about lights, flow, and all that sort of stuff. Whereas next time I'm going to go bang straight in fishing corals and then how you run it. Because fishing corals were halfway through, and I watched it back. I was like, "Why am I doing it that way around?" But anyway, that is my week in reefing.
I had one other thing to mention actually, and you don't know this yet. I have, it's more probably for next week than this week. Yeah. I have a video call with the people organising Aqua next week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I just sent them a message just going, let me know how things are going, and I was just interested, obviously I'm going to be part of it. So what I actually wanted to know how many people have booked their tickets already.
Yeah, okay.
Because are people booking in advance where they're like getting ahead, if you see what I mean, or are they waiting until the last minute like last time? So because if people aren't booking in advance, then basically they need to start putting more advertising out, if you see what I mean. Because I haven't heard anything about it, and I just thought, well, why haven't I heard anything about it? So I contacted sorry.
Yeah, you and me talked about it a lot, and that's where I saw most of it. There was some stuff on Instagram, but it was like announcements of vendors and that. So I've not seen anything this time out.
No, I know. And although September feels like a long way away, for me, it doesn't feel like a long way away. Because when you've doubled the size of your stand, I know, I'm like, I need to start preparing. So, I have on Tuesday, I believe it should be, a video conference with one of the people organising it. Just out of intrigue, because and I'll be able to update you all next week.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I know. Sorry.
Go on.
No, I was going to say something. I'm not sure what I am, and they have told me some good news, but I'm not sure what I am and aren't allowed to say. So I don't want to
We'll wait till after the call.
Yeah, I'll wait till after the call.
That one thing I'm going to be able to update you on next week is for the Cade, I've got an ulterior motive for this. I'll tell you later. I'll tell everybody another time.
Oh, so we both got secrets, have we? This though.
Yeah. It might not come off. I might get told to sod off.
Okay.
But I've done on my K tank. It's plugged into all the plugs are plugged into two sockets basically, and I've put in power monitoring plugs on both of those sockets. So next week I'll be able to tell you how much electricity that tank uses, and I might make a video called "How much electricity does a saltwater aquarium use?"
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to like the answer.
I don't want to know the answer.
No, look, my main tank is
don't even get me started. Don't get me started on electricity. So.
Well, you've got to heat 5,000 litres of water a week. Well,
no, I know.
All day.
It's funny. This is like one of those situations where someone goes, "Oh, I'm really tired," and then there's people who've just had a new baby, and they go, "You don't know what tired is like."
I haven't slept for 6 months. Yeah.
So you're like, "Oh yeah, I have a minor electricity bill." I'm like, "This is mine."
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we move on to your fish of the week and coral of the week, we're going to do member questions. And this is a member question. Normally, I don't reply to the member questions because I read them out, read the answer out here. Yeah. But I saw this and I replied to it. I didn't realize it was a member question. I just thought it was a comment. Okay. But it is from Minute Avenue. Minute Avenue, who says, I've been wondering, does Skimate from the protein skimmer remove salt from the water along with the waste it collects? Also, when replacing water due to the skimmer output, should I compensate with salt water or just RODI water? So it does remove salt water. Some of that stuff, unless you skim really dry, that liquid is salt water.
Yeah, you can if you put your finger in and taste it, you'll taste salty.
Don't do that. It'll taste like something else as well. But yeah, so it absolutely does. But it's a relatively small. You'll lose salt to salt creep and various other things as well.
Yeah.
But it's not worth trying to compensate, because you might think, hang on, I've got a 100-litre tank and I'm losing, 200 millilitres, a fifth of a litre per week or per month or whatever. I need to compensate for that. But if you start doing that, and if you put like a small bottle of salt water and put it on a dosing pump, you're just going to spike your salinity.
Yeah,
it's not a predictable. It's not like with evaporation where you know how much is going to evaporate because you've got an auto top up that does it. It's not a predictable number, so don't ever try to compensate for it. Unless the way to do it really, and I think I said this in the reply, is to test salinity, ideally every week, but at least every month. And then if your salinity's gone up, then you need to take action. And if your salinity's gone down, you also need to take action.
I wouldn't worry about it at all. Not in 17
I'm not
years,
saying I'm not saying specifically for that
yeah.
skimmer.
Yeah.
I mean that's generally you need to test your salinity because it will fluctuate for various reasons.
You need to have a massive skimmer on a tiny tank for I think there to be a noticeable change over the course of a week.
Yeah.
So
yeah, completely. But you should test your salinity anyway because it can fluctuate.
Oh yeah.
Not just because of that, but for various reasons. So test your salinity with a calibrated refractometer, just one of them annoying ones. DD or Red Sea are the best, basically. They're not the best. There might be other ones, but they're really reliable and solid. Calibrate that and test once a week, once a month. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. And that is the only member question. Let me just refresh to make sure there were no more member questions. What did I say in the reply? Did I say that? Same thing. Fine. Ryan.
Yes.
You look like you've seen something.
Oh no, I was reading the comments. You know me, I get distracted. And Amanda Davison said that she has booked the hotel but not the tickets for some reason.
Yeah, funny. So I've booked
the tickets. Book the tickets tonight because you've booked the hotel, so you're definitely going. And it's just it shows support. They see momentum.
Yeah, that's true.
And also the other thing is when there are loads of tickets booked, they can then go to the vendors and go, look, we have sold 5,000 tickets. Do you want to be a vendor? It's almost like people like people are waiting. They're like, we're going to wait to see how many vendors there are before we book our tickets. And the vendors are going, we're going to wait to see how many tickets there are before we book our stand. It's like there's this cycle where people just don't get stuff done. So, yeah.
Very good point. aquah.co.uk.
Yeah.
And Trav says, don't calibrate with RO, use a solution. I generally use RO, but you can use something like this, Accuracy, which is what Abbas uses, by the way. I've had this bottle for a long time, and I was just looking at it to see if it's got a sell-by, a best before end. I don't think it has. It's just salt water in a bottle, basically. So if you shake it and leave the lid on, I think it should be fine. But Accuracy is this is Julian Sprung, right?
Yeah.
And it costs, how much is it? I can't find the $12.99. It costs $12.99 for. This is basically like a lifetime supply. You are never going to use all of that stuff unless you're calibrating it every 5 minutes.
I always wonder though, every time you take the cap off, the water that has evaporated in there each time over the course of like a year.
That's why I was just looking for a best before end date, because I also think when I'm using the same pipette as I use for my tank and I'm adding a tiny amount in there, I don't think it really matters. But anyway, you can use this stuff, and if you put this is as far as I'm aware, I think the way they do this is they weigh the amount of salt that they put to mix this. They weigh the amount of water, and then they know exactly what it is. And it says on the bottom. So this one says this salinity is 35.441. Oh shit, it's leaking.
not anymore.
I know, 35.441 parts per thousand. So that is the salinity of this device, and this liquid.
Can you apologize to all the children listening as you just let a swear word out? You know, this is a family-friendly show, Alex.
Yeah. Sorry about all the fucking language today. So this was so this you can rely on this that it will be an accurate level of salinity. And that's why people say you should calibrate with a solution like that instead of RO, because RO is less reliable than that in theory.
Yeah,
I tend to calibrate with RO, to be fair. Well, actually, I started using. I said the other day I started using distilled water, but but anyway,
when we use our digital refractometers, you have to do it with RO water.
Well, you have to calibrate it. This one,
yeah.
So you have to calibrate it. So you zero it with RODI water. But if you just put the accuracy on the top there and then press read, it will tell you what it is.
Okay.
So you don't calibrate it, but then you know. So if you put some accuracy in there, and this reads at 40 parts per thousand, and it's telling you it's 35 parts per thousand, then you know this is 5 parts per thousand out. You can't calibrate it. You can't tell it to correct itself, but you will know, at least I don't think you can anyway, but you know that it's out. So,
but shouldn't it, once you've calibrated with RO water, it should then read the accurate amount for it, shouldn't it? It shouldn't be out.
Yeah, it shouldn't, but this, you know that is the right level. That, whatever. To be honest, I don't think it's. I wouldn't say if you're not using accuracy, you're a moron. But this is interesting. Randy Holmes Farley has an article for DIY recipe for making your own calibration fluid. Very interesting. Shelf life on the water doesn't say, actually. I've always heard that you should not use RO, but the Milwaukee digital refractometer requires you to use RO. I think RO is fine, and that's what most refractometers say to use. But in theory, not to calibrate necessarily, but to check at least, this is better. So if you've got one of those old school optical refractometer, if you've got an optical refractometer everybody's got, that you do the annoying dance under the light to get it to read out, all you need to do, you don't calibrate it, but you measure some of this stuff, and if it says 35 parts per thousand, you know it's right. If it doesn't, you know it's wrong. Actually, no, you can calibrate them, because you can twist there's a little screw you can twist with the optical ones. So I think you can, that probably means that you can calibrate that to accuracy, but I don't think you can calibrate the digital ones to accuracy. I think that's right. But you can calibrate, you must be able to calibrate the optical ones. Anyway, salinity. We spent about 6 months talking about salinity, Ryan. So
I think probably half of the 40 of the 79 episodes we've done has been about salinity.
If you wanted to cook pizza, would you calibrate your oven at 0 or 425? I'd just chuck it in for 10 minutes at 180, to be honest, but I take the point. Right.
I wouldn't. If it wasn't cooked at the correct temperature, I'd just leave it in longer until it does cook. I'd keep looking in. So,
but you can, anyway, whatever. I love pizza. I eat pizza a lot. What is your Prestige Reef fish at week?
Okay, so I'm going for a little bit of I thought it's time for a more unusual fish. So we're not going for like a yellow tang or a purple tang this week. This fish is not for everyone.
Can I read out the scientific names if anyone can get it?
You can.
You're not allowed to Google it.
Although when you showed your screen earlier, you did show what the fish of the week was. But you could let's see what it is. I'm interested in what the scientific name is.
I'm just looking at it now, and I'm not sure I'm going to have a good crack at pronouncing this. Chilocilium punctatum.
So does anyone know what a Chilocilium punctatum is? It is a banded cat shark, is what it is.
Shark banded cat.
They used to be £90 when I first started. So
that's actually not that much then. When did you first start?
So, about 18 years ago now. So
inflation calculator. let me work that out. Oh, US inflation. No, I want UK inflation calculator. UK. I think actually that bankofengland.com. Right. So, do I want cookies? Can you just?
You're about to work out if sharks have increased in cost in line with inflation.
I think sharks are now cheaper. So, So when was it? 19 years ago.
18 years ago.
18 years ago. So what's that? 2000 and hang on a second. 2004, 2006. Let's say. Cost in December 2020. January. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, what do you think £90 in 2006 should be now?
I'm assuming it's going to be more than £160 based on your reaction.
£152.63. So I was wrong. Sharks have got more expensive, marginally. But basically,
anyway,
Anyway,
the reason I have picked this is because I have known people to have them before. I've always been tempted by one, but I know that in reality they're actually really, really boring. They don't do very much. They will eat shrimps and things like that, and also, if they are similar to epilept sharks, which I know for a fact eat wrasse or anything that sleeps in the sand, that once these are bigger, they probably, and they feed in the same way, the chances are that those will eat any wrasse you have as well. So I'm not sure they're a great fish for most people. Would you agree?
They're terrible fish for 90% of people. They're actually quite big, aren't they? And
yeah, so they get larger than you think they get. I think they get to like 2 feet, don't they? Which sounds like
maybe more. Yeah.
And they also lose that banded color when they get older, so they're not as pretty once they're older. But so many people get like they fall in love with the concept of an egg, because you can buy eggs, and maybe it's the eggs that are £90, I think, and then you clip it to your glass, don't you? And then you watch, and then and you can watch it moving around in the egg. That's cool. And then eventually it hatches, doesn't it? Which is cool.
Yeah.
But then you have a shark to deal with.
Yeah. And so they go up to 1.04 meters, 41 inches, so 3.5 feet. That's a lot of fish. That's probably in the wild in the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But so when they used to have Tanked every now and then, you remember Tank, don't you?
Yeah,
when they had that show, if they put a shark, whatever shark it was, I can't remember which ones they had, they'd always do it in like a raceway. So it was like an oval shaped tank, because apparently if it's a square, they end up just bashing into the end. So that's what they like, and they need a lot of space.
I think that's for the sharks that continually swim.
Oh, really? Like a reef shark or whatever.
Yeah, whereas those coral cat sharks usually will sit on the bottom most of the day, and then they come out at night, so you don't even see them. And so the other shark that is sort of regularly kept are epaulet sharks. Now, coral cat sharks are like stockier. When they get bigger, epaulet sharks remain quite thin, even as they get older, whereas coral cat sharks are like beefy. Hey, that's got to be the worst fish of the week to date.
I don't know. You had a Melanaris wrasse before.
Well. People love Melanaris wrasse. Even we asked people, didn't we? And they loved Melanaris wrasse. It's only you that doesn't. I just reminding people that it's something that some people do keep, and they are a terrible idea. So people don't usually keep them for long.
The fact that they're nocturnal as well is like they can live up to 25 years.
There's a few fish that when you first get into the hobby, you think are a really, really good idea. And then after like a week, you're like, that was a terrible idea. So I'm talking about lionfish, because you can hardly keep anything else with them because they'll eat everything. Yeah. Pufferfish, because they're mean pufferfish. They like take chunks out of other fish, and they'll eat coral. And things like that. And sharks are on that list. Eels are also a terrible idea most of the time.
Same with freshwater. Do you remember? Have you ever, what a red-tailed black shark? Do you know what they are? It's not. It's this thing.
Oh yeah.
It's not an actual shark. I think it's a catfish. Maybe, I don't know what it is. But they're really bad. They look cool as hell, and it's like, oh, it's a shark, amazing. But they get super aggressive, and they chase everything, and they get big and that sort of stuff. There are loads of fish like that in freshwater that you're like, I want that. Like clown loaches, little tiny little clown loaches, and then they get like 2 feet long.
Catfish is what you're talking. I think one of the fish you're talking about.
Is it?
Red-tailed catfish are the ones that get absolutely massive. That need to be in a pond.
Various catfish get huge. Yeah, enormous. Yeah. That's not what I was thinking about, but there are fish like that as well. But it's the bad idea. So what you're saying is the fish of the week is a fish you should not get of the week.
Yeah, but that's what the Fish of the Week is about. It's about showing people what options are and what are either good or bad options. So, and after 79 episodes, I can't remember what I've said before, but I can tell you I've never had a coral cat shark. So,
for good reason.
Yes.
And before we work out,
however,
go on.
Now that I've got the quarantine system, I can get one of those eggs. And I can enjoy it hatching and keeping it in the tank by itself for a period of time before eventually moving on to someone else.
Yeah, I think the hatching process would be the coolest part of it.
Yeah, but I bet no one ever sees it hatch. I think you can watch it grow.
But just seeing something move around inside a little egg sack, whatever it's called, that's cool.
There was one for a long time at a fish shop where it was attached to the glass. And then the days where you used to go back to the fish shop every week, where like once a week I used to go to the fish shop, you could watch it grow because it changes a significant amount on a week to week basis. But I wonder if you would notice that in your house if you saw it every day, because you don't notice small changes as much.
Totally.
So
JJ had barla sharks, and I was like, "What's a barla shark?" I remember these from freshwater as well. They start small, but they get massive apparently. But yeah, that's another one that they look quite cool. And then you realise that they're a terrible idea.
None of these fish look cool. In my looking at them, you're going, "Oh yeah, some of these fish are cool." I'm like, no, none of them give me any
He's
Any
so
feeling?
snobby. I'm
No.
sorry to all the freshwater people. No, actually, I'm going to make it worse. They look cool for a freshwater fish. Sorry.
No, cool for a freshwater fish like discus or
Yeah, that's true.
frontosas. Those are cool for a freshwater fish. Or puffer fish, those little dwarf puffer fish.
Yeah, I had pygmy puffer fish. They all died within about 2 weeks.
They also they're pretty mean to other fish as well. It seems to be like a puffer fish family thing.
It was a species only tank, so that wouldn't have been an issue, but they didn't get the chance. I don't know what went wrong. Probably ammonia. I can't remember. Prestige Reef Coral of the Week.
Again, it's hard to pick a coral of the week after 79 weeks, but I'm going for Pectinia. Now, I have done Pectinia before. I did a Space Invader Pectinia previously. I have gone for a Rainbow Pectinia this time because it's on my website.
How
it's different to... that is not actually that expensive for... That is a big coral. No. And so Pectinias normally are around that cost.
How big is it? And you got to answer by describing or saying in size, not by just putting your hands up.
I'm going to say it's over 10 centimeters, I believe.
Okay.
So when I was at Aqua, I took some Pectinias. Pectinias are a funny thing. Like, they can sit in the coral farm sometimes and people don't buy them. I took them to Aqua and they were I had a torch coral, which was really, really like everyone wanted. And I had that, I had 2 Pectinias and both of them sold for that price and they were nowhere near as nice. Sorry if you were the people that bought those Pectinias. But if you were the people that bought those Pectinias and you want one for the same price, which looks way better on the website.
I'm going to be rude about your photography.
Why?
What? I think that coral looks much better than that photo.
It does, I know, but... It's hard sometimes to get the right colors out of it.
I know, yeah.
So, but you are right. But that's the thing. I would rather people be pleasantly surprised than unpleasantly disappointed.
Completely, yeah.
So, also, there's a coral that I've just seen this on the website, which you just got it up, it's sold. So I need to take that off right now before someone buys it.
Is that the Echinata?
It is, yeah.
Okay, I like them, but they're too aggressive. And Alex Palazzo confirms, you say, how's it in South Africa? How's it?
There you go.
How's it, Alex? Cool. All right. So that's a Prestige Reef Fish of the Week and a Prestige Reef Coral of the Week, which means Prestige Reef Fish Coral of the Week. Hang on a second. I haven't got my
the nose.
I was trying to find the jingle. Right, lots of fish news, Ryan, and there are no brown gobies.
Always disappointed to hear that. But are there actually there was? Let's see if it comes up. There was something on the news which I hope that you picked up. I can't remember what it is. So let's see if you remind me what it was.
I probably haven't in that case because you pick up stuff that I don't. But anyway, whatever. Let's go on to it. First thing, this is the headline. If you ask me, this is the big news, right?
Yeah.
Aaron's Aquarium, who you will all remember, is still to this day the second biggest YouTuber in our hobby in the country. Is back in the hobby. Well, I'm slightly exaggerating there. He posted on Instagram the other day to say he's getting back into the hobby. Basically, he's going to get a tank. He hasn't got one yet. I think he said he needs to do a bit more research, all that sort of stuff.
I knew it wouldn't last long with him not being. I know. To be some extent, he has not had it for a long time. But I mean, I knew it wouldn't last long with him having the channel back, not doing fish stuff. Yeah.
So it's been 3 years, and he's still going to be doing. His channel is now a running channel, kind of, but he's going to be doing running and fish tanks. So I think sounds like he's going to set up a tank. He's not going to do things he did before. He's going to do all sorts of things differently, and he's just going to enjoy it rather than try to be bound by the YouTube algorithm, the YouTube gods or whatever.
So basically, he's doing what I do, where you just post,
enjoy.
You post like 22 days in a row. And then nothing for a month.
Yeah, exactly. But it's great. He's back. He's going to be back in the hobby from the sounds of it, anyway.
Yeah.
And he's got a bit of research to do. He said a bit of catching up to do. I don't think much has changed in 3 years. Probably the equipment's different, but you can still buy.
Sure it's
as in, there'll be a Radeon Gen 6 instead of a Gen 4. Yeah. But you could buy a Gen 4 and it'll still grow corals just as well. So I don't think much has changed in that time, and he'll be back into it. But he's back. Another potential customer, Ryan.
True. Michael is always welcome here. He did come here. He came here. It was actually
I remember the video.
Yeah, it was just before the coral farm was built. Yeah, so he's always welcome here. He knows that anyway. Not that he listens to this, but he's always welcome here.
Indeed. And at some point down the line, it won't be anytime soon, but at some point down the line, I might give him a shout and ask if he wants to come on the live stream. He might take 6 months or a year to get his feet under the desk. He might just text me and say, "No, I want it." But at some point, I'll invite him on.
Yeah. It was a shame actually because again, I know we keep talking about Aqua. He was at Aqua. I was so busy. I've not seen Mike in ages, and Mike's one of the people where, like, if I called him tomorrow, we would have a chat for like 2 hours, and like as if it was like yesterday. And that wasn't unusual to happen previously. It's same with you when I talk to you and I'm on the way back from somewhere. Sometimes they're like an hour-long conversation, and then I just didn't see him for like 3 years, and then obviously he was there, but I couldn't talk to him because it was so busy. So yeah, I'd definitely up with having him on the live stream.
But there you go. But anyway, so he's back. So Aaron's Aquarium. It's now called Michael Aaron's. Is it called Michael Aaron's? He's changed the channel.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, it's just Michael Aaron's. Aaron's Aquarium. Yeah, it's just
a short midlife crisis channel.
It was. Michael _Aarons, AARONS. 70.8 thousand subscribers. Madness.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's back, and that's the news. That's not the end of news. There's fish news, and this is the first new fish that I've seen that I've been like, that is cool. Some people won't agree with me. I don't know if you will, Ryan.
Can we have a poll?
No.
No.
But there's a new species of geometric pygmy perchlet.
No.
Oh, God, what do you mean no?
No. That's very average.
Clantheus raki. It's an orange. That's cool with little yellow bits there.
No.
Pygmy perchlets are amazing. You like them?
Very average.
Oh, they're so cool. I love them. Anyway, it's an orange and yellow.
We have our first nah, just so you know.
Nah. Well, get out, Polymate. No one asked you. Thank you very much. Yeah. But anyway, so this is another one where I'm against 99% of the people watching.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. It's quite deep, 100 meters. That's really deep, actually.
I wonder how. They're not part of the hobby, are they? I was going to say, it's funny how as soon as I see a fish, they've like newly discovered, I'm like, I wonder how expensive it is.
Yeah. Well, so it's in the Maldives for a start. I presume fish are expensive for the Maldives because it's middle of nowhere. I don't know. But if it's 300 feet, 400 feet deep, that's going to be masked swallowtail angel money.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's in the hobby, to be fair. It's just been found. But
yeah.
I think it's cool. Ryan doesn't agree, but yeah.
Someone said it looks like a koi. And someone also said Ryan already said he hated his own fish. Why would he like any other fish? Not sure that is exactly word for word what I said, but
Emma says he's cute. Well done, Emma. Well said. Someone talking sense at last.
Well.
Yeah, I like them. I think they're really cool.
Looks like a goldfish with fin rot.
No, Les, can you ban yourself, please? For God's sake. It's cool. It's not. All right, fair enough. Okay, we'll move on. Well, the good news is, Ryan, because you were rude about the fish, we're going to talk about. Well, it's not really equipment. I was going to say equipment. It's not even really equipment. There was an announcement from Reef Factory on their Reef Factory family Facebook page. I thought this was a bit weird. So it said that there have been some rumours about Reef Factory that have emerged. I had not seen any rumours about.
Sounds very cryptic.
I know, and this is from the co-owner. So this is on their Facebook page. You can go and check it out. But basically, it's not actually that exciting, to be fair. But my takeaway from it was that they're downsizing. And when I say downsizing, I think they were. How did they say they were letting go some staff or something like that? But I think they're trying to go onwards and upwards. But they were reducing their staff numbers and they were moving production. I think production is currently Poland, I believe. It's a Polish company. And when they said they turned off comments and they didn't give any more detail, and when you do that, people are going to speculate. So I'm going to speculate a little bit, but I don't know. But if they're moving production, I would get and laying off staff, which I think that's like my words, but I would guess they're moving production to China or somewhere cheaper somewhere away from Poland. I don't know.
They wouldn't be moving it somewhere more expensive. So
no, and I wouldn't thought they'd be moving it to a different part of Poland, but maybe they are. But I'm just speculating. So, but yeah, so they've done this, and they've said that this move is supported by secured funding. So they've presumably got investors. Maybe, I don't really know. Again, speculating. But it said that they've had stock shortages recently, and that some projects are temporarily on hold. One of which will be the reagent for nitrates for their for their smart tester, which has been out for about 2 years. They said that they were going to be nitrate reagents, and there still aren't, or calcium, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know anything about them, but that has made me feel less secure about the company than not putting it out, if you see what I mean.
I had no idea. It said there were some rumors. I was not aware of those rumors.
Exactly. So that from that message, it looks like potentially the company's not doing great, which is why they're letting staff go. They're moving production to make it cheaper, so that they're more competitive. I have no idea.
Read the whole thing. That's not the way. Maybe that is the case, but that's not the way it read to me. The way it read to me was that they want to grow and expand, and if they're going to do that, they need to be more competitive, and this is the way they need to do it. Okay. But you might be right. I don't know. But this is the trouble: is if you're vague in a message and you turn comments off, people are going to speculate. So. But the one thing, they described themselves as a premium. They said, I can't remember how they put it, but they said they're a premium company in the hobby. I don't think of them as premium. I think of them as just one below premium.
Wow, let me just get the list.
It's not. So they're not budget, but they're not like right up there.
Yeah.
I think they're one below, and I think that's reflected in the price because they tend to be slightly cheaper, and I think they're slightly less quality. They're still good. Well, some of their stuff isn't brilliant quality, their old stuff in particular, but they're generally still reasonable quality. But they're not. I wouldn't say they're a premium company.
I've never had any of their stuff, so I don't know.
No.
But you've had lots of their stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, I've de-refactoried quite a lot of my tank over the last couple of years. So I've moved away. I use Red Sea dosing pumps now.
Oh yeah.
Part of it I was given a Red Sea dosing pump, but I bought them before with my own money. I really like the Red Sea dosing pumps. I used to have their lights, but I love Kessels. So the lights are actually really good. It just Kessels are better.
Yeah.
Anyway, fish news, Ryan. Back onto good stuff. And this is a bit of a vague story. Again, I've scant on details today, but it appears. But Biota have announced Biota have now been able to captively breed hippo tangs, dory, on a commercial scale. So before now, and I hadn't realised this, before now they just did small batches. So if you got one, it was once every 6 months or every year or however long it was, I don't know. But now they said that they've worked out how to do it. There's a breakthrough in their processes whereby there'll be a reliable stream. So if you want to buy a captive bred dory, you're likely to be able to do so quite regularly. Probably in the States mostly to start with. Beyond that, don't know where. In the UK,
they ship stuff over. That's where the yellow tanks come from, I think.
Exactly, but it's not the UK. The US is their biggest market, and we play second fiddle a little bit. So I don't know if you'll be able to get them in the UK now. You might be in the future. I'm guessing if they've ramped up so they can breed loads of them, then I would imagine they'll have enough to go around a bit. But the US is probably likely to be their primary market to start with. But again, speculating, who knows? But either way. A fish that is now capable of being captive bred on a mass scale, basically. Good news.
I'd be interested to know, firstly, how much they are, but also, while you were telling me, I was thinking they're making a really, really monumental difference to the industry. They're almost like future-proofing the industry. They're the people that are putting the work in now, so that if there is ever a ban on regal tangs or anything, and the more fish they do, the more secure the industry becomes. It's the same as freshwater fish potential. A lot of freshwater fish are bred in captivity, and there are, I assume, no rules about that.
I feel like a lot of them are based in Czech Republic freshwater. I might be making that up, but yeah, it's massive in freshwater. So yeah, the more the better. It's not quite as simple as wild caught is bad captive bred is good. There are actually real benefits of
but some of the people that are making the rules do think that.
Exactly.
So that's what I mean by future proof. I remember Brian came on and he said, I can assure you, no matter how many fish are currently being captive bred, if they stopped it now, your tank would be boring because there's not enough captive bred fish to I believe that might not be word for word what he said, but like there's not enough captive bred at this moment to make it interesting.
I've just realised we've not had an update on Hawaii for ages. It got to the point where it was almost it was opening up, and then there was some news, but it dropped off. But
I'm assuming nothing's changed because if something changed, we would have heard about it.
Exactly. But that's so situations like like Hawaii, that can happen. Indonesia shut down with corals. I can't remember if it was fish. I think it was just corals for 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years, something like that. So, it can happen. So the more of this, the better. Good news. Well done, Biota. Leading the way again. There are a few companies that do captive breeding, but they are right up.
They're all in America. Well, there might be when I say they're all in America, I mean, none of them are here. They might not all be in America, but then they're definitely not here.
Yeah.
No one's doing it here, are they?
No. I've just had a message from a message in the chat. Andrew says, Alex, have you thought about doing fauna marin balling light bolus system? Reef Bums dropped calculator and moves on to it. And I replied in the chat and just said, no, not my cup of tea. I like tried and tested methods. And he's replied and said, you won't be sorry, come and see my tank. Do you know what bolus is?
No.
So you can go and look it up if you want to see it. But it's basically a new method of dosing and stabilizes pH or whatever. But I've seen a bit of chat about it. I have no interest in it whatsoever. And when I say I like tried and tested methods, we've worked out how to keep acros, the hardest corals in the hobby, basically 20 years ago. That hasn't changed. So I'm sure there are the ways, certain things like reef moonshiners might have great results for some people. KZ, what's it called? The German method.
I know what you're talking
about. They can get real pastoral results without those.
Zeovit,
that's the one. Yeah. There's various things. Triton was the next big thing at one point. But for me,
there's always the next big thing.
Exactly.
And always the next big thing.
Yeah.
Often they're the same thing as before. It's been repackaged.
Exactly. But I just like stuff that there's been a little bit of chat about this recently in the hobby. But come back to me in 20 years' time when 500,000 people have had success with it. Until then, I'll stick with normal stuff. I just don't see the fuss about it personally. But
that's true. Actually, I've just seen. Dijon has putting a lot of money into captive breeding at the moment.
Yes, very good point. Yeah, they do a lot actually.
They're going for the really high end stuff. They're not going for yellow tangs. They're going for mask.
Do they have bandit? Yeah, they did.
Ones, yeah.
And
what's the Cuban basslettes and things like that?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I saw there are a couple of Cuban basslettes around actually. Reef Red texted me a photo.
Yeah, they've got. I think they've got one with the platinum stripe, like the platinum fins on it, rather than the purple fins.
But so I was like, I'll come in and have a look at it. It's in Rugby.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So it wasn't worth a 5 hours round trip, but they're cool. But I'd like to go to the Young as well. That's a cool place.
Yeah.
Apparently, some guy in Hawaii got arrested last week for smuggling yellow tangs.
What's the
Imagine that being in prison. What are you in for, mate? I murdered my entire family. What about you? Oh, I smuggled some fish for a fish tank.
Well,
crazy. But yeah. Anyway, more news. 2 more pieces of news in the news. Do you know what Prodibio is?
Yeah, I saw that. They've been going for years, like
long time.
It wasn't like 20 years or something.
27 years, in fact. So Prodibio is, I think they're like I don't really know, but they sell these little vials of like bacteria or probiotics, I think they're called. And I've spoken, no one really uses them. They're not really very popular, but I have spoken over the last, probably a few years ago, I've spoken to various people who are really knowledgeable, really experienced, and have had great success, who speak really highly of this stuff.
Yeah.
And apparently it's great. Again, not really my cup of tea. It's a bit left field for me, but it's one of the companies that's been around for a long time and is well respected by knowledgeable people, basically.
Yeah.
And they're going into liquidation. They're a French company. I had no idea.
I didn't know they were French either. But I did notice they're the things that sit on the shop counter usually,
Yeah.
like next to the till. And when I saw that they were going into liquidation, especially after like 27 years, I thought, wow, like firstly, like how did they last 27 years was the first thing I thought, because I've never known anyone to use it. Now, don't get me wrong,
Same.
like if it works and it's great, but I don't know anyone. I've never used it, and I don't know anyone in my group of reefing people that use it. But the second thing, the problem with that product is that they're in little glass vials. I think people don't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah, it's true.
Like if you see that, you go, they almost need a rebranding. And there might be a reason that it's in little glass vials. There probably is a scientific reason that it works better in those vials. But if it was in a bottle, like a plastic bottle, I reckon more people would buy it than in the glass vials.
And if it's called Prodibio, what was the word I used a minute ago? Can't remember. Probiotics.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Call it grows the shit out of corals or whatever, like there's better messaging with that. But anyway, yeah, so the company's gone into liquidation. It said Prodibio CEO Nicholas Tiliakos. That sounds Greek or Cypriot to me.
I've met him. I met him only very briefly. I met him somewhere. Where did I meet him? It was maybe it was him, or maybe it was a rep for them, actually, to be honest. I'm not sure.
Right, okay.
I met them at Interzoo. I think it was Interzoo.
Oh, he was born in America. Interesting. Tiliakos sounds Greek Cypriot, that kind of thing to me. But anyway, cool. He's got a really smiley face. He looks like a really nice guy. You know what I mean? Like the uncle that you look forward to seeing at Christmas.
I'm trying to work out if that was the person I met or not. I can't remember. Okay. But I wonder if there's a reason. Do you understand what I'm saying? That those glass vials put people off?
Yeah, completely.
The concept of breaking a glass vial to pour it into the tank. I don't know what it is. It's probably very easy to do. You just throw the glass vial away.
Yeah. It's alien. It's different. Yeah.
I know it's different, and people don't like it. And I think that if that was in a normal bottle, it's people had normal bottles of stuff all the time, having no idea what it does.
Yeah.
So
I think in terms of, there are some companies that do marketing really well. Aquaforest, for example, they have loads of people on Instagram who bang on about Aquaforest all the time. Might be sponsored, whatever, but whatever. Whenever you see an Aquaforest tank, it looks amazing. Yeah. It's not because Aquaforest have discovered the secret to keeping corals. It's because they have a lot of people who know what they're doing. Prodibio, you tell me one person who uses Prodibio who's got an amazing tank. I'm not saying that doesn't create amazing tanks. I'm saying I couldn't tell you a person who uses it. But
people must use it. 27 years is a long time.
But in that case, they need to. Maybe that's one of the things that they need to do more of is get the message out there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
not a single person in the chat either has come forward, because where we're going, no one uses it. And normally when you say that, someone comes forward and goes, "Well, actually, I use it."
There'll be someone in the comments afterwards. Shout up if you do. Modern Reef marketing and product line is Modern Reef, another one that they do really. They've got their marketing down because they use lots of people on Facebook and on Instagram who show great tanks, and this is all down to Modern Reef, and actually it's probably all down to the reefer. But either way, it's not that stuff doesn't work. It's just that, anyway. But yeah, so shame. But he was quoted as saying, "We'll rise like a phoenix. Prodibio will be back soon."
Yeah, I think it looks like they were struggling for a period of time. They said they tried to turn things around the last 2 years or something, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see. I don't know. It'd be cool if they were back. That's actually so this is from reefkeepingnews.com, which is Jeremy Gay's venture, and he's put the photo of the vials there, and it says ampoule. They are a different storage and delivery method to what most customers are used to, which I think, reading between the lines, is what you've been saying basically.
Yeah,
it's like that looks alien. I don't like it. I'm scared of it.
So. Yeah, it's a very good product potentially, if people are saying it's a very good product. That it's just packaged wrong, and that's enough to put people off.
Here we go. Prodibio Reefmate used it. Malev used it, apparently.
Yeah, a few people said he's used it. So we got 2 now.
There we go, 2. But yeah, it's a shame that a long-established company like that has folded. But it sounds like they'll be back, and I hope back stronger. # back stronger.
Yeah.
And the final piece of news is, and I've lost this tab in the crash of earlier on this evening. But there's a new Serious Reefs video.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched that either.
I bet you haven't. So it's currently members only, and I think so. We were discussing before whether they're actually, if you're a non-member, you get to see the videos. I think the answer is yes, because this video is now available for everybody, and it's only the 3 most recent ones that aren't. And I think after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I think probably 3 weeks, they go live. So normal people who haven't signed up, will be able to see these 3 videos very soon. And and these are all just Elliot and Ryan sitting down having a chat. Interesting if you like behind the scenes stuff, but they're not the videos that the mass market will want to see. And this is the first one that is a proper video, and it's a lady called Nicole Bridges. You haven't watched it, okay? So I have watched it, obviously, because I watch everything. And she does something really cool. So she goes around and finds corals that are dying and rescues them, like corals are dying in people's tank, rescues them and tries to work out why they're dying. Because it's not just, oh, it's dying, it's not happy, corals die, whatever. She does this on quite a large scale. And it's interesting to hear her chat about it. So if you are a member of or a patron of Serious Reef, you can go watch it now. If you're not, sign up.
That'll be interesting, actually. How long is the video, just out of interest? And also, does she give you does she tell you what she does to start to bring these corals back?
I can't remember, but I don't think I came away with any specific things where I thought, that's interesting. It was just more about what she does. But
only because sometimes, every so often, you'll get remember I said sometimes you'll get a coral shipment and it doesn't do well. Or sometimes you'll get some will die straight away, and then sometimes you'll get one that's like 50-50. And if I could learn how to bring back that 50-50 one, that's a video worth watching.
The one thing she did say, there are a few people that do this, and they're not doing it for profit. It's not like they're getting corals free, fixing them and selling them. They're not flipping corals. And she's keen to keep it with people who are doing it for the right reasons. But the more people who do that, the more good there is for the hobby, because eventually we'll all be able to work out how to do it and all that sort of stuff. So cool. I like that. It was good.
Yeah.
And there are no more brown gobies, so that concludes the news. Another user of Prodibio.
I know, I saw that.
The glass vials avoid contamination, apparently.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And yes, in a way, they're ahead of their time, because there's a lot of talk about bacteria now and has been over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Whereas before that, not much chat about it, apart from the cycling process and all that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, maybe now is the perfect time for them to come back, or in a couple of years or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, we're 1:47. That's nice and early. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't think so. No, I think we've covered everything. Well, I think I've covered everything.
Yeah, we've covered everything on my list, so we are all good. I've just seen one last comment that I'm going to pull out. Ben Malloy, are you Australian, by the way? Malloy sounds Australian to me. Hey guys, has anyone had a conversation at the local fish shop about increased theft of aquatic products? Oh, he is in Australia. We've had a big problem of increasing theft in Australia. No. Never. Every now and then, it's pretty rare, but every now and then a shop will post a CCTV video of someone reaching into a coral tray, pulling out a coral and running away.
Yeah.
And it's like, well done. Now the entire hobby hates you.
No, I know that. Look, I have cameras in the coral farm basically for that reason.
Really?
And it's funny because sometimes I'll go back into the house and then I'll come back. I'll just to get something like a bag or something like that, and I'll go back and the customer will go, "Why do you trust me in here?" And I went, "Well, first I got cameras, and secondly, if you've got wet hands, I've got something to be concerned about. If you haven't got wet hands in the 30 seconds that I've been gone, I think I'll be all right."
Yeah, okay.
But you do see it. I've seen it's some like these are the videos that stick to my head. I'm sure I've seen an expensive torch. I've seen some sort of scholar. I'm sure someone stole an eel. I'm sure someone stole an eel.
How'd you steal an eel, for God's sake?
I don't know. I'm sure I remember seeing oh yeah, of course. But I'm sure I remember seeing a video where someone nicked an eel.
Oof.
Imagine walking out with an eel in your trousers.
No comment. I say there's not been an increase, there's not been a spike over here as far as I'm aware. I rarely see it, to be honest. I'm sure it does happen. theft just pisses me off so much, if anything. But hey, what can you do about it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that cheery note, it's time to end. Thank you all for joining, guys. We'll be back next week as always when I've worked out what we're going to talk about. If you want a subject, put it in the comments. Take care. Bye.
See you later.